Hi everyone. It's a beautiful day, so I thought I'd take it outside on the deck to do a little bridge pose. So I hope the sound is okay. There may be some birds and whatnot chirping in the background. All right, so let's see. Bridge pose. My trusty block. There are a couple of different ways, really, to practice bridge pose. And one that's quite common, and that certainly I was taught, is to roll up through the spine. Well, let me show you, just bridge pose. Hips are in the sky, supported by your shoulders, right, top of the shoulder girdle, and your feet. Yeah, so a couple of different ways. One is to roll up one vertebra at a time and roll down. So you can see my tailbone starts to tuck up, my low back comes towards the ground, and I start to roll up. And then I can roll down the same way. So that can be interesting to sort of mobilize to the spine. And it ends up, I find it ends up feeling more like a back bend. You probably, I don't know if you can see, there's an arch in my, a little more arch in my back. And roll it back down. So that's definitely one way to practice it. Another way to practice it is to allow the torso to just be neutral. So the spine is neutral. And the change happens between the leg bones and the pelvis. So the hips lift and they come back down. I tend to practice this way because I find it a little more functional. When I think about when I want my hips to extend, I am, this movement. I don't want my tailbone to be tucking under when that happens. Yeah, I want this to be neutral and my legs to be able to work without my spine having to get involved. But hey, I mean, both have their benefits. But that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today, is the bridge, just keeping the torso quiet. So a couple things that you can do from here, of course. First is to really settle and breathe and feel connected to the ground. We're going to ask our butt to do some work, and we're going to ask our butt to do some work kind of back and forth, right? So we can do a little bit of butterfly here to sort of wake up the muscles, the supporting muscles that help to keep the legs from moving out and in when we lift the hips. And I'm just moving in a range that feels easy, and my hip flexors here are soft, so they're not getting involved because they don't have to. And so you do a little bit of that. I'm going to just do a little isometric contraction here as I bring the one leg up and gently connect hand and leg. Just sort of waking up my joints here and connecting to the core. And letting the torso stay nice and neutral as my arms and legs are moving here. Maybe do that a couple of times. So I'm gently pressing the leg in. If I took my arm away, it would come in like this. And I'm not really pressing with my hand, I'm just offering a little light resistance. So we're not tug-of-warring here, it's just and I have my eyes closed a lot because the sun's actually come out and it's gotten really bright here. So because we want our torso to stay connected, we also want to kind of wake up those muscles in the torso, so we can add a little bit of a twist. And I'm letting my shoulders stay connected to the ground. And you might choose to move side to side with your breath, taking it nice and slow. You know, sometimes in classes I cue this and all of a sudden I see windshield wipers going, with the rain, the torrential rain speed. Keeping that nice, soft, steady breath. And letting the shoulders just stay easy on the ground. So not so where you have to try and push them down. Our goal is not to get the legs to the ground, it's just to feel that connection here and how the legs moving affects the pelvis, affects the rib cage up to the shoulders. And you might choose to pause in that twist and just breathe. And you could do the same the other way. And we'll let that go. And one more thing, I'll just throw this in. We're not doing a big, long practice here of all the things that you could do. Just doing a few things that might be interesting. Let's work a little bit with the shoulder blades on the spine. So you could use a strap. I didn't bring my strap out, so I have my block, but you could hold a strap between your hands. I'm going to hold the block between my hands. And you can play with it. Feels different, at least to me, having your hands on the block this way or having them more like in an L. So, or if you have the strap, varying the angle of your arms as you have the strap. As the block or strap comes just over your shoulders, not like over your head, and feel your shoulder blades on your back, and then let them slide away from your spine and come back down. And slide away from your spine. So allowing the shoulder blades to move on the rib cage. I'm just noticing so my elbows aren't straightening and bending here. My head's not poking. My spine's not lifting. Shoulders not rounding. Just nice and easy here. And then if you wish, you can let the shoulder blades relax there and you can start to just lower the block or strap. You're not going to come any farther than your ears, so we're not going to the floor. And really only going as far as the spine is neutral, so there's no popping of the ribs. I think I'm going a little bit far. I can hear my voice get kind of tight right about here. Oops. Almost lost the block. Alright. I'm going to let that go. And let's feel the feet on the ground. Now one thing, I mean, you can kind of put your feet where you want. What I do find is putting them, I don't care to bring them right up and try and graze the heels. I know that's a cue, but I find, certainly for me when that happens, I tend to like arch through my back or some weird stuff happens. But it does help to have the heels close to where the knees are. So if they're out here, it's pure physics. When you go to lift, the bones being at an angle like that, it becomes more difficult. If they're a little bit closer in, you get a little more straight down force. So feel the feet, but you're not going to try and push through the floor. And think about lifting from the back of your hips. And you might only come up an inch or two. It's not about coming up, super high. It's not about having that big arch in your upper back. That is a thing, but right here we're just practicing the spine and the torso staying neutral while the relationship of the leg bones and the pelvis changes. Yeah? And we can pause at the top. Feel the feet, feel your breath. You might feel the spine, the upper spine, and the shoulder blades rotating. So there's kind of a point partway through the middle of the upper spine where the spine is lifting from, if that makes sense. I'll bring it back down. And then one other really nice way to play with bridge is to have supported bridge. So having a block, lifting your hips just enough to bring that block underneath your pelvis. And underneath the pelvis, so it's not under my low back at all, it's really on the bony part of my pelvis. And depending on your size and your body, you might have it at a higher height. I'm really short. This short height is good for me. When I bring it up a little bit higher, I start to feel a little strain in my low back. Yeah, I don't practice yoga to get more strain, so I'm going to come here. And you can just hang out here in this supported bridge. And there's a couple things you could do here too. You can play a little bit with sliding one foot out. You notice to slide it all the way out. So I'm getting a little something in the front of the hip here, but I haven't changed the angle of my pelvis. If I put the leg right out, I don't know if you can see that my pelvis starts to tilt this way. And I don't want to do that. I'm not adding extra curve in my low back. And the other one. Nice steady breath. And we'll bring it back in. And then when you're ready to come off, you simply lift your hips a little bit, slide the block out, come back down, and then just hang out for a moment or two. Just sort of notice what you notice and let yourself feel the support of the ground beneath you before you move into whatever your next position is. And that is bridge pose. I hope you have some fun practicing. Thanks for watching.